Check one, 2, 3. Hey everybody, it's Michael Helms, also known as Michael the Sound Guy, and this is the Location Sound Podcast. You know, each episode we talk with location sound mixers, boom ops, and other industry pros about the various aspects of recording sound on location, whether it's for feature and independent films, TV commercials, interviews, any time where dialogue from actors is recorded. I started my career in the recording studios in New York City with some of the big artists back in the day, and later on projects for networks like HBO, Sci-Fi Channel, and the Cartoon Network. As time went by, I got out of the studio and began working in production sound. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, thanks for joining us. Okay, my guest today is a sound recordist and boom op originally from Australia, but he's based out of London, England. Please welcome Will Langdale.
Hey Michael, how you doing?
Welcome to the show, Will.
Thanks for having me. Such a delight.
Absolutely, from across the pond.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we sorted it out. We got that time difference happening, so it's good.
Okay, Will, when we are working as a production sound mixer on set, tell us what's in your audio kit. So just give us a rundown of your mixer, recorder, preferred mics, and all your other equipment.
Yeah, sure. So I play it pretty safe. I just have Sound Devices 633, which I run. I have some audio Limited A10, one receiver and 2 transmitters. For my boom, I run just a small VDB internally wired boom pole with a MKH-50 on the end. And that's kind of my go-to sort of run and gun setup.
What kind of timecode do you like to use?
I'm using the Tentacle boxes. I haven't had a bad experience with them. So I'm very happy with them, and they're nice and light and small, because getting around London's definitely a game of trying to minimize size as well as weight.
Yes. Now, is that the first generation or the second generation Tentacles?
I got the first generation, but I'm looking at picking up some more sets just because so much multicam stuff has kind of been coming through. I don't know. Sometimes productions surprise you with with the multicam sort of setups. You just did a pinch, and you didn't have time to hire additional ones. So yeah, a couple more in my bag would be a great asset, I think.
Okay. What kind of lav mics do you like to use?
Oh, I've got for the A10s, I've got DPA 4060s, which are kind of my go-to, and just very solid, very clear sounding. So yeah, I like them quite a lot.
Now, I know a lot of people have been thinking about the Audio Limited mic. So overall, how's your experience been with those?
With the system, I'm kind of mixed. It's kind of mixed. I'm not sure how everyone else feels about it. On one hand, they're incredibly clear sounding. The lack of noise floor from them being fully digital and without the companding and all that sort of element. So it's in terms of the sound quality, it's the best sound quality I think you can get out of a wireless system. But there's some sacrifices kind of get made more in the range of them is pretty lackluster at times. Battery life, as well as like some serious heat comes off those transmitters. I don't know if you've ever tried them, but they get pretty hot, which in winter is quite nice in London. People, the talent quite likes having this little warm patch in their pocket or in their, on their back or wherever. But in summer, it kind of, it seems a little bit crazy sometimes, Like last week we had a heat wave. It was like 37 degrees. And then you've got this hot little metal pack on someone's back as well. So, but yeah, I rate the A10s. But I think for my next system, I'll be looking at getting some Electrosonics. Just the other problem with the A10s, I think, is the limited choice on your transmitters. There's the one type, so it'd be nice to have the electros and have the plugs for the boom and maybe some single battery transmitters for more, when you need to hide them a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah, maybe with some firmware updates and a little farther down the line, they'll come out with some new ones. So.
Yeah, I think that's the hope. I think everyone's hanging out for the forums and stuff seem to be hanging out for the one battery version of the transmitter, which hopefully comes soon. Would be nice.
Now, what brand do you see the most in wireless mics over in the European area?
In Europe, yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting. There's quite a big mix. I feel like when I was in Australia, it was just Letrasonics was everywhere. But here, yeah, it's a real mixed bag. Like, the Wizzycom stuff seems to be quite popular. I don't really have any experience with it, but I guess they're quite versatile from what I've heard from people. So I guess they're quite a good pick. But yeah, I would say mainly I see Wizzies and then a lot of the SRCs, the Electro, which are pretty standard as well. I mean, yeah, people rock all sorts of things. Some dudes out here with G3s killing it. Like, yeah.
I think we all, or at least I have a G3 and a G4, I use for camera hops and for,
oh man, yeah, absolutely. I use G3 like every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got the 2 and then I just have one channel of G3, which is great, man. It can save the day. I've even run it for like in-ears, minute in-ears for directors and stuff.
I've done the same thing. I was like, they didn't ask for context or anything. I said, I can set you up if you want to be wireless and you can walk around, because she was walking all over set, and I was like, let me get you set up.
Yeah. So, I mean, G3s, man, great. Save your life. And that's the other thing. That's the other problem with the A10s. They're a little bit less versatile. I mean, you could plug, a G3 into the output of a mixing console and pad it down, but the A10s, I think it has to do with the filtering, the input filtering or something. They just seem a little bit more temperamental, and you don't get the battery life. Yeah, because I've been working, doing some NBA events, and there's lots of, we're just trying to get feeds off the desk, but it might be mad, like cameras the other side, and we just kind of want everything straight into the camera because it's got this real fast turnaround. So it would be nice to have these just lines, just line inputs coming into a wireless and just sending it over to the camera. But with the A10s, it's not really. Someone might be like, man, you totally can do that, but someone online's just like banging their head against the table.
Somebody might reach out to you after this interview and have all the ansers. So that's the nice part about this.
Yeah, thanks guys. See, the thing is, I mean, it is funny, like a bit of a diversion, but I feel like it's a funny industry because I do work so alone. I worked very little on like production teams, in the sound department. But every time I do, you just learn something. There's so much to learn. So to me, it's kind of sad just working all by yourself, and you're like, man, I'm sure there's a solution. I'm sure there's something I can do, and maybe if there was another guy here, we could like work it out together. But instead, I'm just going to keep doing it like the foolish way that I've been doing it all my life,
That's true. Yeah, we have the same thing. Yeah, you hang out with somebody, and it's like, I had never thought of that before. And sometimes even like the camera crew will come up with something sometimes, and you're like, what? Oh, that's great.
And you wonder, like, why was I doing it like that for for years?
Yeah, like, that works really good.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into some of your projects you've worked on. I saw that you were recently working in Berlin with the NBA and the Nike Basketball Festival. So tell us a little bit about that project. Yeah,
so I've been doing a bit of work through NBA Europe, which is pretty cool. So kind of working with their online content team. So really great opportunity to go overseas. But yeah, mainly it's kind of, again, it's something I don't quite understand, but it seems to be what I work in mainly. It's like, digital content. So it's all just content for Instagram and Facebook and that sort of stuff. So we're out there and we interview some big players, and with them interacting with the kids and sort of follow them around the camps and, that sort of thing.
Well, what's the audio setup on some of that stuff?
The audio setup, it's pretty new to me. It's something I've never done before. It's very like fast-paced and quick turnaround sort of thing. So although the job itself isn't too demanding, most of the time it's miking someone up or getting a feed off an audio desk for when they're doing a presentation and that sort of thing. But often we have very little time. It's one of those situations where you're like, this is why I've got the right equipment and this is why I'm maintaining it, because they fly us to Berlin and they go, all right, you've got 5 minutes with, we had 5 minutes with Dirk, a big legend, the NBA. And it's like, we've got 5 minutes to interview him. And that's 5 minutes for me to put a mic on him to set up. So the main pressure comes just from making sure, all right, everything has to work. Nothing can be clipping, nothing can be distorted. It all needs to go in camera, clean. So although it's in terms of the setup, it's quite simple. It's just that pressure of, you got 5 minutes, there's no reshoots. There's no first AD like say, oh, just turn it back and let's like get it again. So that to me is pretty new and pretty exciting, but also a little bit stressful. So I feel like that's probably what my guys over at Broadcast Land feel like every day.
That's right.
And if he comes on screen and there's no sound, well, you're just in a whole lot of trouble.
Now, are you wiring them and booming them at the same time, or?
Yeah, so ideally we get both in, which again with the 5 minutes means trying to have a very quick solution to radio miking, as often the press sort of rooms aren't very isolated in terms of sound. So getting in there and getting the mic on and making sure you're confident there's nothing interfering and no chains or anything like that, because that could again just ruin your day.
Okay. Now, are you having to hide the mic, or
yes,
can you just clip it externally?
Yeah, so they're looking, they want it hidden. They want it nice and clean, which again adds a little bit of pressure depending on the outfit. Like recently, I was doing a shoot, and it was a similar sort of thing. We had 5 minutes with this guy. He was an American singer, came over to London. So I'm standing there with my lav ready to go because they were shooting it in a portrait. So there was just no headroom for a boom. I was like, all right, well, it's just live time, because it was Instagram content. And this guy comes up and he's just got a clear mesh shirt on and like a big duffel-y sort of jacket. This is trouble. So yeah, you kind of, you're quickly appraising, you're quickly trying to get it on and make sure there's no errors. And again, I kind of think about, you read lots of things online, like, I'll do this and get the costume department to do this. But in these sorts of situations, it's just like, just get it on there and get it working, there's no time.
Now, what did you end up doing with this mesh shirt and the jacket?
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough one. I think I kind of put it on the inside of the large jacket, but it was a really horrible synthetic sort of material, the kind that just you can't really do anything about. It's just like him moving, it's just being picked up. But it ended up working okay. And that was a quick turnaround. That had to go straight to camera. That had to go on Instagram that night or something like that. So in the end, the lav was okay, but it was definitely, there was a couple of trips of me adjusting, which is never good in those situations, but I guess people understand,
That is true. Yeah, I work a lot with physicians, and they're wearing their white lab coat, and they're starched, and they're crisp, and those make a lot of noise, but if we're able to get a boom in there, that saves us usually. I think that's the other thing as well on that shoot. I think I said to the producer, I was like, I need to get a boom, and this outfit's a problem, and they tightened up the frame, which was nice. Otherwise, it would have just... So I guess it is nice. Sometimes people have your back, or they understand what's going on. And that's good when the camera team is able to accommodate, and you're all working as a whole team,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Everyone understands your issues, which isn't always.
That is true.
Not all the time.
All right. Well, now you were also in Greece following an NBA star for his new signature shoe release. So tell us a little bit about that one.
Oh, yeah. That was cool. That was really cool. I think we were there for like 5 days. So, yeah, that was organized by Nike. And they run a tight show. It was, we were up at their hotel every morning, and they had a bus organized. And, we went all over town. It was crazy. So, again, just wherever we went, we try and talk to the Greek sound people at the mixing desk and try to get a line out of that and, sort it out. That was really fun, actually. There was a good mix of people. There was some local Greek film crew. There was some guys from ESPN over there. So that was my first real, proper media scrum. Everyone's in there fighting for for prime position, and And it's kind of funny that everyone's running around doing different things. And you're looking at each other like, am I supposed to be doing that? Is that... Maybe he's getting... Like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's kind of got different approaches, and it's really cool, like, just seeing how it works and getting some advice from the guys there. Yeah, some really helpful guys that have been doing this media sort of circuit for ESPN for much longer than me. So that was really good. Like I was saying before, it's always nice working with other people, and sound people are really friendly, so it's good to share experience and knowledge.
Oh, that's true. Now, was the setup with the miking, was that very similar to the other one you did?
Yeah, it was very similar. I think we had 5 minutes with this guy. We had to get in the gym, set up the camera, set up some lights, mic him up, film the interview, and we had 5 minutes. So, I mean, this is maybe this is really normal for people that have been doing this stuff for a while. They're probably listening again and just going like, yeah, that's that. That's what we do. But yeah, for me, it was first time doing that, and definitely, I mean, it's stressful, but it's kind of weird, isn't it? Like I was saying before, because it's not that difficult. So you're just thinking about everything 100 times. Like, make sure everything's lined up, everything's recording. Yeah, but I mean, it was a real fight. It was kind of fun. It's even for the producer fighting to get the content that they needed for NBA Europe and stuff. So yeah, I had a really good time with that.
Now, do you have kind of like a ritual or a routine that you do when you show up to a set, and do you scan frequencies first? I mean, how do you kind of set up when you arrive on location?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I was thinking about this. It's like I was thinking that the mental checklist is kind of such a huge element of being a sound recordist. Just there's so many little things you obviously have to remember to to keep doing. I know it sounds really silly, but it's like you don't want to miss any of the processes, but you don't have like a sheet of paper out there going like, oh yeah, okay, rule 1, like scan for frequencies. Oh yeah, rule 2, change my batteries. It's like, and there's all these like small fiddly sort of elements involved in it. So, I mean, generally, I get to location, power up, plug everything in, you know, kind of check through that, and then I'll scan frequencies, which I don't know, I thought London would be a bit more crazy in terms of lack of space, but been pretty fortunate. Haven't had any bad RF issues over here. But yeah, so go through that, and then I'll label up my mixer and make sure the folder is correct and everything's labeled up and in order, because there's nothing worse than getting on your mixer. Happened to me the other day. I went into a channel and I relabeled it previously, so I think I had 2 channels labeled Radio 3, and you're just going, oh wait, what have I what have I done? Like, and it's easy, like, you know, but it's just that quick reaction, looking down and going like, oh, that should say boom, it should say boom 2, whatever. But so yeah, just making sure everything's in order like that.
Okay. What do you power your bag with?
Oh, I got the Pro X NP1s. So with the single receiver and the mixer, I never go through like one battery in a day, like, which is great. I've run 2 sets of the A10s before, and that definitely chews it up a bit more. But yeah, so it's a really great system and nice and light, which is kind of the the aim of the game.
Yeah. Now, what kind of audio bag do you like?
I'm so bad with product names. I'm really good with microphone numbers, but everything else I kind of flake on. I think it's the Orca OR32. Okay. So the smaller, you know, it's just got like the 2
pouches versus 3.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I've recently got I got a soundbag dashboard for my 633, which is great because, again, the receiver gets quite hot. But now that instead of it sitting against the bag itself, it's kind of sitting in free space, so it seems to stay a little bit more cool. But they don't make a soundbag dashboard for the A10, so it requires a little bit of customization, a little bit of screwing and, putting it together. But for anyone with A10s, I would highly recommend the effort, because it just seems to be it just seems to be running happier and cooler.
All right. Well, what type of headphones do you like to use?
I've been using these HD-25s for ages. This is probably going to sound really bad. I don't particularly like them. So I'm kind of interested in stepping out and trying some more things. I mean, I've had mine for quite a while. They kind of don't have that the crisp top quality that I would kind of like from a headphone. They're a little bit more bass heavy, which I think in the field isn't really what you quite need. So I've been thinking about looking at the Sonys, because people describe them as quite harsh, which I think is, well, I mean, it's all relative, obviously, but I think that quality might help a little bit more for me and just for my hearing. I mean, I used to mix a lot of music in the past, and I used to love the NS10s. I just think they're fantastic. But for some people, they can't stand them, you know? So
if you can make it sound good on the NS10s,
that's it. Yeah.
That's what we had at the studio back in New York.
Really? Yeah.
We had those, and that was like the bass line. And yeah, they're not heavy, bass, but at least it gave you, if you could make it sound good on those, when you transfer to the other ones. And that's why we always tried to monitor with different speakers. You try to you mix on the NS10s, then you put them on the big ones, with the 12-inch subs, and then you bring it, and then you listen to it on a Oratone little mono speaker just to make sure everything's coming through. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I feel like the HD-25s, I don't quite get the clarity that I would like, and for me it could be a more uncomfortable sound. But if it had a bit more presence, I think that would definitely help. Especially, we're dealing with people's voices all day, so you kind of want that higher register popping a little bit more.
I agree. I've been wanting to try some of the in-ear monitors.
Yeah, that's a big one. See, the thing that scares me about the in-ears is, I've had mixed reviews from people. Some people have said, they're great, and they can't go back to over-ear headphones ever again. And then I've talked to some people that have spent, $800 for a pair, and then they've gone, I don't like this, and they've gone back to their HD-25s, and it's like, there's no resale on it as well, you know what I mean? That kind of scares me. It's like, you got to go in, because you could buy some HD-25s and go, these are not for me, and sell them back for, $50 less or something. But no one's going to buy your ear molds.
Yeah, and some of them are $1,200 and $1,500 US.
Man, yeah, absolutely.
That's a commitment.
It's crazy. But I think, for the work I do, and again, someone might disagree, I think it's good having over-ear ones because I can remove them very quickly. I can kind of do one ear very quickly. Whereas once you're kind of in ears, it's a bit of a faff to get them in. I mean, it's like not that much longer, but it's just that little bit of time. So I think maybe for more narrative work, I could definitely see, like if you were just a mixer behind a console, for me, I could definitely see it being more worthwhile than me running around kind of in these crazy situations, people talking to me wherever, so yeah. But I'd be interested to try it out someday. We'll see how it goes. And obviously you get such nice isolation, which is kind of, again, a problem I've been feeling with HD-25s is just, it would be really nice to really isolate ambient sound, and again, louder environments like these NBA things. There's just so much going on, and you don't want to blow your ears out by cranking your headphone volume. So I've seen a lot of guys rocking the big isolation ones. They're almost like
the remote audio.
Remote audio, that's it. Yeah,
yeah. They have the I want to say HN7506s. So they're the Sony. They're the Sony ones, but they're the big white ones, and they isolate. So I thought about some of those too, because there are times where you're in an extremely loud environment and you can't hear anything, and because you're hearing the headphones and you're hearing the exterior audio as well. And so
I'm super conscious of hurting my ears. Like I worked in the music sort of world of sound before moving to location recording, and I was always like, I gotta protect these ears. But I mean, if you're doing a shoot and there's loud background noise, and you're getting paid good money to be there, you got to turn it up. You got to listen. You got to hear what's going on, or else you might as well not be there. Which kind of scares me a little bit. Like if you're shooting in a factory or a club or something like that. So yeah, I've been thinking about getting some more isolation, because not only I think will it help you monitor, it will help your ears not get blasted as much.
Yeah. And I think too with like the in-ear monitors, you can monitor much lower volume, so you're not fatiguing your ears as well. And so yeah, something we all should look into, right?
Yeah. That's another thing on my long list of future investments.
Excellent. Okay, I was looking on your Instagram, and you just shot with View 35 Films in Scotland, and looked like you guys are doing some mountaintop recording. And so, can you tell us a little bit about that project?
Yes, I can tell you all about that. Those are a great bunch of guys, View 35. They shoot quite a lot of shorts out here in London, and they're based out in Essex, so kind of just next to me. Yeah, so the director wrote to me, and he said, I want to do a film, and it's up a mountain. And I was like, okay. And it was like, yeah, it's like a 2-hour hike up a mountain in the north of Scotland, like past Glasgow, past Edinburgh, like in the Highlands, in the start of the Highlands. And I was like, okay, that sounds really fun. And you know what? It was really fun. But if someone asked me to climb a mountain to do a shoot again, I think I might request a helicopter, because we did back-to-back days. We did 2 days. So it's a 2-hour walk up, 2-hour walk back down. We were shooting for 12 hours, and then the next day we get up and we go back up the mountain. So did it again. So it was like some horrible kind of Groundhog Day. But for that, actually, interestingly enough, I talked to him beforehand, and we kind of discussed our options, because I wasn't going to bring my full location kit up like such a crazy walk, because it just wouldn't have been possible. Like, it was just so high up. So instead, I brought a field recorder, just like it's a R26, like a Roland, kind of like the Zoom. It's 2 XLR inputs, and the film had a cast of, it was just 2. So I kind of discussed to him whether he would much rather me bring 2 radios or bring a boom and just boom it. So we kind of talked about it, and because before I left Australia, I did a feature, and we just boomed the whole thing. So I was like, I'm feeling pretty confident. Like, I know it's possible. I know we can do it with just the boom. And but we decided to go for the 2 radios, just because the costumes were looking like they weren't going to be a problem, because it was just kind of like casual, normal clothes, just people walking up. And so it's like, okay, this is viable. So in the end, I mean, it was pretty janky, but it's kind of what we had to do, because there's no way a 633 and a backpack and a Pelican case were going up this mountain. It was a backpack with headphones, 2 G3s in it, my little bits and pieces. And then, so we also ran the boom straight into the camera. So there were some scenes where we were booming it, but straight into the camera. So it's kind of funny. It kind of tests you a little bit when you lose the stuff that you're real comfortable with. Like, oh man, like, oh, I don't have pre-record now. Oh, like, oh, I don't have this. Like, oh, if I'm clipping the inputs, they're really clipping. Like, there's not a soft limiter or anything. So it was kind of fun. It kind of makes you go like, oh, maybe I've become too reliant on how just efficient technology is. But then again, you kind of appreciate why it's so expensive and why you should have the good stuff. Because rolling around with a 2-channel thing, it's not that much fun.
Yeah. I kind of look at it sometimes too. It's like I was teaching my daughter to drive, and she's driven multiple vehicles now. So she drove my car, learned on my car, and then we have a larger car that my wife drives, and she's driven that. And then her grandfather has a big SUV, and so I think when it comes to audio equipment, it's the same kind of thing. You get to each device has its own subtle nuances. And I think if you learn to do sound and record audio on multiple devices, I don't know, I think it gives us a more well-rounded approach when it comes to sound.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Yeah. And then I think, again, that's another nice thing about working with other recordists is you get that hands-on sort of thing. Like, you know, even when we were talking about WheezyComs before, I've never used them, so I can't really say like what it is that's good or bad about them. But if someone put one in my bag for a few weeks, it would be like, you know, yeah, you'd learn so much and become so much more aware of how it works. Which is, again, I guess a hard part of buying equipment is there is a little bit of a leap. You're just like, well, I've done my research and I'm going to get this one and hope it's all I want it to be, you know. But yeah, no, it was good. It was kind of like going back. It was a bit like, I mean, they're not at the quality of student film, but I felt like me with my little 2-channel recorder. I was like, back at uni.
Was it windy up there on the mountain?
It was so windy. It was insane. It was actually just mental. Like, I couldn't believe it once we got to the top. I wish I had photos of it or something to show you just how crazy it was. The audio on the very peak, because we kind of filmed all the way up. On the second day, the top wasn't that windy, but the first day, it was insane. I think that's the windiest environment I've ever seen. The overcovers were doing some serious work. I'm not quite sure how much of that was that usable because it was just insane. I mean, everything was flapping, and even my monitoring. I mean, anyone with HD-25s will relate, and maybe other headphones are the same. I'm not quite sure, but because I mean they seal quite well, but when it's windy, you kind of get wind passing through them, and it kind of can be deceptive. You're like, is this the mic? Is this my headphones? Like, what is going on?
I've had that same problem. It's like you're hearing something. It's like, is that the mic or is that? And you go ahead and push your headphones up against your head, and you're like, oh, okay, it's just the headphones.
It's just the headphones. Yeah.
Well, what kind of expendables do you like to use for wind and stickies and things like that when it comes to hiding wires?
You know what? I've tried a lot of stuff. I really like the Bumblebee system. I think that's really good. But my go-to it's just overcovers if it's windy. And recently I've been using, for most shoots, I'll just use the DPA concealer, I think it's called. Just the plastic one. It just goes in that, chuck a sticky on the underside of it, attach it to chest, or that's for most normal situations, loose clothing, nothing too problematic. I find that works really well. But I've really been liking the Hider mic. So I got a little 4-pack of their various things, the tie concealer, the bra, the shirt. But I mean, I really rate that stuff. If I was doing more narrative work and film work, that would definitely be my go-to. I mean, men in suits used to scare the crap out of me. Seeing a guy rock up in a 3-piece suit, it was just like, geez, all right, what am I going to do? How am I going to solve this? Especially, like you were saying, the real starchy sort of pressed. But now the tie, if you can get that, if they're wearing a tie and you can get that Hider mic in, it's just, your day is saved, absolutely saved. And you can, with the DPA, I put the regular cap on, not the Presence Boost one, because it's just like having a microphone in the in the prime spot almost. And there's air gap. There's nothing muffling the mic. So yeah, I really highly rate those. But yeah, so I've had success with those. My go-to is the DPA concealer. I quite like the Ursa softies, like the ones that look like little marshmallows. They're quite situational, but I feel like they can really assist in certain situations. They would never be my go-to, but they've definitely saved the day a couple of times.
I like those too. So
yeah.
Well, let's talk about your worst on-set experience.
I feel like I've been pretty lucky. Touch wood, I haven't really cooked anything yet. I haven't really, I was talking to we were chatting about the worst things we've done on set, and I was talking to a camera guy, and he said he formatted the card after a whole day of shooting. So I haven't done anything like that. I haven't deleted any files or forgot to press record or, which I'm sure, happens to everyone. So it's just a matter of time until until it happens to me. Actually, the other day I was on a shoot and it was for a pretty good client. It was for a French, I think they were insurance. It was actually pretty cool. We were filming these deep fake videos. So do you know what deep fakes are?
No.
So deep fake, and anyone who's listening who knows this is going to be such a bad explanation, but it's basically like AI learning. Like you input footage of someone. Let's say you put in lots of footage of George Bush. And the computer learns all the different angles of George Bush's face and calculates, well, if his face is on this angle, his nose looks like this and the shadow looks like this, blah, blah, blah. So it has a profile of all these variables, and then very, very clever people can then put those variables over anyone else's face, and it can realistically, like very convincingly recreate that person. So this insurance company was doing an ad about data protection, and they're saying, you know, anyone can be anything, like don't trust anyone. And they've got people like Elvis, and it will legit look like Elvis by the time it's done. Anyway, so it's quite a good client, and there was someone being Winston Churchill for, you know, whatever reason, and I had my boom pole on a C-stand with my nice little boom buddy. I think is it a boom? And he was just sitting there delivering straight at the camera. So I was like, great, I can just do that. I can not hold the boom for a bit. And during the take, maybe the 15th take, so we were kind of at it for a little while with this Winston Churchill, trying to really perfect the character. And it was right towards the end, and of course the boom just went, dropped in frame. And the French executive who was there, the client, just went, "Oh, merde!" And then the camera up, like a really funny Irish guy, goes, "Oh, don't worry. I think merd is a good thing." It obviously means just, oh shit. Like, so that was my like.
So it just slipped in, but it didn't hit the actor or anything.
It didn't hit the actor, yeah. Luckily, because I remember watching. Have you seen that clip of Arnie sitting down in an interview and the boom?
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, yeah, you know, yeah, Arnie is doing some press for like Terminator or something. And he's just sitting there and getting mic'd up maybe, and then this boom just jots into frame, and I think it hits him on the head maybe. And he just goes, "Oh, thank you." Like, it's just like, fuck you. And I watched that. I was like, man, how did that even happen? Like, you just tighten up your thing and you do all your checks, and that shouldn't happen. What a fool. now I'm the guy doing it, like ruining and they were like, that was the perfect shot, that was the perfect one. And so that was pretty bad, man. That was pretty embarrassing, but I think I've been pretty fortunate. That's good.
Well, if you could give some advice to somebody wanting to get into production sound, what kind of tips would you give them?
I feel like my journey's kind of been strange. So I can't be like, just do what I did. Do you know what I mean? Because when I went to university and I studied theatre sound, and then from that I started working in the music industry, mixing bands and working in nightclubs and that sort of thing. And then I was on this country and western music tour in Western Australia doing regional shows, and I kind of went, you know what, this is ridiculous. This is not a normal job. This is not good. I love sound. I'm so interested in it, but I can't be doing this music business. It's mad. It's undervalued, underpaid. It's just not. And I went, what can I do where I'm still doing my interest in sound, but you kind of have a bit more respect and a bit more, well, maybe some people might disagree with that, but, a bit more of a solid lifestyle, I guess, behind it. And so I wanted to get into post sound. So I went to, sheepishly went into a post-production studio in Perth, in my hometown. And I was like, hey, yeah, I want to do post-production. And they were kind of like, well, what do you know about post-production? I was like, I know bands and music and how to mix music and stuff, but in terms of this stuff, absolutely nothing. So they were really, really cool, and they let me in and kind of learned some post. And then while I was there, I kind of, the guys out on the field, I really want to know what they're doing, because I feel like you need to know a bit about both to fill the puzzle. You know what I mean? Like, so then I was like, I had a friend who used to be a sound recordist in London, actually, and he lent me some of his equipment, and I just started doing films for people, and then the post-production studio put me on some jobs, and I was like, man, this is really fun. Like, I'm more into this than sitting in the studio doing the post. So then it kind of started from there and just like kept kind of evolving. So I guess that's what I mean. It's kind of funny. That's why I find it hard to be like, oh, do this, and like, because I guess my arc was just like an odd mix of things.
But you explored like all areas. You started the music side, and then you thought you wanted to do post, so you explored that, and then you went into the field work, and it's like, you know. And
field is definitely like, it's the greatest job I've ever had. It's my favorite thing, you know. So, but I mean, advice, I think you have to be really in it. I do think you have to be really genuinely interested in sound. Like, you have to be a nerd. Like, I'm a huge nerd for sound equipment, and you ask any of my friends, it's the guy pointing at microphones on TV talking about like, oh, well, that's the thing, or like, or watching some stupid movie and it's like, oh, they're landing a spaceship, but they're touching like a Behringer compressor rack or something like that, and I'll be sitting there going, oh, look at that, doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So I think you really need a passion, because I think sometimes people get relegated to sound because they have an interest in cinema, let's say, but their heart's not in the nerdy side of it. Like, so I think that's really the key. And I mean, it's kind of hard. Like, I don't want to say go out there and just work and do stuff for no money. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, just do as much as you can, because you got to put some value to yourself as well, you know? I think the best advice is just be kind of brazen and just go in places and just talk to people and email everyone in town. Just keep emailing everyone in town until someone puts you on a shoot or takes you into the studio or does something like that. That's what I would do. Especially if I was younger, I would just learn on the job and just email everyone, sit on IMDb, see who's in your town, send out 1 million emails. Because, I mean, that's what I did when I got to London. I didn't have any contacts over here. So it was just me sitting in a computer for 2 months just emailing till the pieces kind of came together, which is very fortunate. And I think always being aware of how fortunate we are is important as well, you know? Like, it's such a great job. And there's so much to be thankful for. So, you know what I mean? Did you agree? Yeah.
You know, who wants to sit at a desk all day?
Man, it's crazy. I can't do it. I've been freelance all my life, and I literally cannot do it. I cannot. Not that. It's that I'm trapped. I've tried to do it. I did some work in a warehouse doing like a PA warehouse back in Perth. You know, setting up speakers and prepping. I just can't do it, man. Yeah, I have to be out.
Yeah, I've had some desk jobs, and it's like I wanted to get up and go talk to all the creatives that worked in the building. So I take a break.
Ask them what they're doing.
I'm hanging out. So what are you working on? Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah. That's sick. How's that work, bro?
Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, Will, as we kind of start to wrap things up, what's the best way for people to connect with you online?
Oh, man. So easy. Hit me up on, I guess, Instagram. But if anyone wants to email me, just hit me up. My email is just will.langdale@gmail.com. If you want to hit me about anything, if you want to tell me why I'm wrong about anything I've said, or you want to high five about something, or just, if you're in London, if you're traveling through, whatever, just let me know. Just nerd out.
Now, what's your Instagram handle?
So my Instagram handle is Willy, WILLY _Langs, LANGS. So if anyone wants to hit me up there as well, absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, I want to say thanks to Will Langdale for being on the show today.
Thanks so much, Michael. Appreciate it, man.
And a big thanks to all of our listeners out there. If If you'd like us to discuss a particular topic, please send us an email at locationsoundpodcast@gmail.com. We would love for you to subscribe and leave us a comment. We're available on Apple Podcast, and for Android users, check out Google Podcast. Also, we're on Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, remember, sound is half the picture.